No, why? That's why. All right, you know what? I'm going to start this over again because
Let's do
I
it.
pushed mute some stuff. I'm sorry. I muted some things because I didn't want people to talk during the intro, and you know what? I don't like that at all. So let's start with my introductions again because the video audio worked, but this didn't, and that's just the way some things work. Thank you, everyone on the chat for telling me right now. So let's start again. Kyle Red Silverstein, thank you very much for being on the show. Of course, you could find him on the show as Young Rip, and Young Rip tends to have a lot of blood on his face and a bunch of things as well that we love about Rip. But of course, it probably makes makeup a little hard on you. But thank you for coming into the show.
No, thank you again for allowing me to be here. And like I said, it's going to be an awesome discussion. So can't wait.
Very much so. I'm very excited. Next, another one of our great guests. She's been on the show before. Carissa Pavlika. She is actually someone you can find on T Fanatic. She covers Yellowstone, and she's got her own thoughts and questions as well, which is the best part about this show. I find that everyone who covers the show, as well as people who are cast on the show, they are all fans. And I think that's probably the best part about this show that I really love. So thank you very much for being on again.
Happy to be here.
For sure. And then moving down the line, Britt Lawrence was with us as well before, and we get a chance to have her on again. You can find her with Eclectic Pop as well as Cinema Blend, and she is here to talk about all the great stuff that that comes about with Yellowstone too. So please let me know. Please welcome Britt as well. Sorry.
Thank you so much for having me back.
For sure. And I'm just sorry, I'm just going through here. I'm trying to make sure everything's working well and that the streams are working right. For some reason, I'm getting all kinds of miscellaneous things that are not making me happy. And I don't know how or why that's all happening, but we're going to move along. Worst case scenario, I am recording this, but I think everyone is online. So if anyone is there, any issues, please just feel free to come up on the chat and we'll figure it out. But let's move on first and foremost to Kyle here. And Kyle, if you can tell us a little bit about how you got this part as Young Rip.
So when I first received the role as an actor, I think that most people they do have those like favorite kind of roles, like certain things that you are like, this is something that I want to book. And for me, the second I got Yellowstone, I knew this is something that I have to put all my time and effort into to truly like understand this character and truly put my best foot forward and my best opportunity. Because this is something that, I mean, every teenager who is my age would want to like partake in. So once I received the role for Young Rip, I remember I got coached for it. And I truly like, when I went in the room for the audition, I felt 100% prepared to play this guy. And I just know that from the very first audition, I rocked it. And then that one was just in front of one of the casting directors. And then I went in and I got a call back, and that was in front of Taylor. And so that was an awesome experience. And he has an image of Rip, and I think my image and his image kind of matched up. So I think that's what really allowed me to get this part. And I just spent a lot of time focusing on my emotions, because that's, even though Rip is a badass, it's not all about badass when it comes to Rip. He's got emotions too. And that's like, when it comes to like specifically for Rip and knowing, like reading the script and knowing that his father died, it's really focused mainly on emotions in that point. So for the audition, that's what I focused on. And I think Taylor saw that as well. So that's what allowed me to book the role. And I'm very happy that I got the opportunity to partake in everything.
Well, that's fantastic. Before I go into any more of my questions, I want to give it out to my guests first. Britt or Carissa, do either of you have any questions for Kyle before I get into mine as well?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
I actually do have a question.
Go for it.
I just wanted to know how much you were able to communicate with Cole Hauser about how to keep, your version of Rip and his version of Rip, a synergy to that.
Well, the very first time I actually met Cole, I was walking off of set actually, and I was walking with Lucas. What's his face?
Josh Lucas.
Yeah, Josh Lucas, and he is the nicest guy ever. And he knew that Cole was having a meal, and he was like, "Hey, Kyle, do you want to come and say hello?" And I was like, yeah, I mean, this is the guy who I'm playing, so I have to like meet him, of course. And so when we came face to face, my hair was done, all my makeup and everything. And so it was like looking in a mirror. It was legit looking in a mirror at that point. And I was like, if this is my future right here, I am set. Like I am good to go because this is like if this is who I'm gonna become, awesome. I cannot wait. So I mean, when I met him, he was like, wow. He was like, wow. I was like, wow. And so it was just an awesome experience. But we never truly got to talk specifically about like the character and who Rip really is. And I think we both have our own like ideas, but we both know overall the main things. Number one, he's a badass. That's all you really need to know. And then number two, he's still got emotions. So I think we both know that, and we both understand, and that's really why I think Rip is the way he is. He's just a badass. He's got emotions, and I feel like for me personally, I'm the guy who's also got emotions, but I know what it's like to be a badass as well. So I think that we both have our separate ideas, but it kind of comes together in the end.
Well,
Nice.
that's awesome. And we saw in this picture right here, he seems like the nicest guy. So it's always awesome to meet the actor, and meet some of the people and know that they are good people as well. We of course already know that. We've seen some interviews with Cole before, and of course we love him in all the other movies and things we've seen him before and too. So it's always cool to see that happen. And of course we've also talked to some of the cast of the flashbacks, like Dalton, who says, you guys are kind of shot separately, so you don't get a chance to kind of interact with the regular cast because of the way flashbacks and units work all together too. So, but it's still cool because you are part of the lexicon of who he becomes, and that's one of the fun things I think too. So, and you know what? The cool thing is he got to meet you as well. You're an actor as well. I mean, you were in Blended with Sandler, correct? And you've been in some other fun things too. So you have some acting chops as well.
Yeah, I've been around, I've been around for a little bit. I've been starting acting when I was like 2 years old. So I've really been acting my entire childhood, my entire life. And so, I mean, I've got to experience many different sets, but there really is no set like Yellowstone. I mean, Yellowstone is filmed in Montana and Utah, and just being around everyone in the entire cast. I mean, even though I'm not working with the main cast, I still got to like see them because we were filming our parts at least for the most recent season that I went. I believe it was also like the World Series or like the baseball World Series or something like the MLB championship. And I remember this very because it was the Dodgers versus I think Boston or something like that. This was 2 years ago, I believe, so it wasn't the most recent year. But I remember me and one of the first ADs who is a big Boston Red Sox fan, and I'm not a big baseball fan, but just because it was the Dodgers, I had to root for the Dodgers, and the whole crew, cast and crew, was focused around this baseball game, and we all got to bond together from that. And that's just like another example of like how Yellowstone truly is like a big family. Like everyone really gets to know each other, and even though we don't get to work with the main cast, I still get to talk with them, and I see them walking around, and so I say hello, and they get to talk with me, and so everyone really is just an awesome group to work with.
Very cool. And that's something that's very true. And we were looking at to adding more fun guests to the show today too, as we get closer to the finale of this season. And I was told that everyone was invited who's in Montana right now to go to Taylor Sheridan's house to go and enjoy the episode live with him and whatever he puts out. I assume it's huge steaks and cowboy beans, and I feel like that's a Taylor party in my mind. I could be wrong. And then they go out to shoot some things just because. I'm not sure, but in my mind, that's how a Taylor Sheridan party works out.
I bet a Taylor party is crazy. That's all I know. All I know is they got to be crazy.
For sure. And you know what? The thing is, they're starting some stuff for the beginning of the season, but you never know how things are going to work out. So hopefully we'll get a chance to see you creep your way into the next season, and we get some more flashbacks because I want to say Rip is a enigma wrapped in a fighting armadillo. Rip, it kind of condensed into like a Wolverine. Like it's not even like food. It's just all angry animals. I feel is the way it all works out. But if you befriend it, he'll let you pet him. and I think that's the key to a good rip. So we look forward to that for sure. The last thing I want to ask you is, when you go and you were part of all the set, and you have Costner there, or it's Josh Lucas actually, right? Josh Lucas was your John Dutton, right? So
he's my John Dutton.
He's your John Dutton, and what was it like to essentially try to act angry and crazy, and there's blood everywhere? I mean, you're talking about the fact that you don't really look right now like you did then, with this or the specific hair you had. So there's a little bit of a process to become this rip, I guess, right?
Yeah, a little bit of a process. I think overall, well, first off, regarding the hair, I think quarantine has truly allowed me to grow out my hair. I think along with a lot of other kids as well. So I've been fortunate enough to just keep growing it out. Nobody really been telling me too much opinions, and I kind of like it. So that my hair's long right now. And the thing is, for the audition, I really wanted to look like Cole Hauser. So I remember, I hate when my mother touches my hair or does anything like that. But she's like, for this specific role, I'm going to slick your hair back and put like hair gel in. So when they slicked it back, it was really dark. And I play water polo. Like, that's what I do at my high school. I did, because I'm going into college now. But I used to play water polo, so my hair from the pool would get really blonde, really, really blonde. So it would be definitely a different color than Cole Hauser's hair. But for the role, we made sure to slick my hair back so that it looked a lot darker. And then after I booked the role and I got on set, all the hair and makeup people were so surprised. They were like, your hair looks nothing like Cole's hair. And I was like, yep, we might have to do something about that. And so every time I go in to hair and makeup, we always have to do at least like 1 or 2 cans of like spraying in like black hair dye or whatever. So it ends up being a real mess in the bathroom, but it's always a good time. And I mean, I love the hair and makeup people, and they're always so nice. And I mean, who wouldn't want to wake up and dye their hair black? I mean, I love it.
For sure. Well, I want to remind everyone out there who is on the chat, feel free to put your questions in for Kyle, whether it's from the set, whether it's from the episodes he was in, any other thoughts as well. Feel free to put your chats in, as well as when we start to go through the episode, which is going to happen very shortly now. Any questions, any thoughts, feel free to put that in. We love the fans who are in depth as much as we are, and we want to hear from you, your thoughts, so we can kind of reflect on them as well. I have 2 wonderful guests and reporters who have recently talked to cast members. So have I, actually. So we've all recently talked to cast members in the last week. So many of them are coming out of the woodwork right now because we're getting close to finale, and they want to make sure we are ready and raring to go when it comes to this. So if you have any questions along those lines, feel free to reach out on the chat. So let's actually, I think if we're all done with questions for Kyle, is there anything else you want to say about the part itself? You're going to stay around and talk the episode with us, but is there anything else you want to talk about the process of becoming a rip or anything, or you think you covered it?
I just want to say that, like, when it comes to Yellowstone, this show really is something special. I mean, with Taylor like taking the charge, he knows that like this stuff is gonna be epic. So I personally can't wait. And Yellowstone is just an awesome thing to be a part of, and I'm just so happy that I get to be here right now and to talk about it.
Fantastic. Well, we're very, very happy to have you here as well. And as you know, this is one of those shows that when it comes about, every episode is its own little mini movie, and which is for good or bad, because these little mini movies tend to close up pretty quickly. We get our questions and our answers sometimes in the same episode, and so we're playing catch up. We're like, oh no, what's going to happen now? But there's still so many things to unravel and move forward on. Really quickly before we move on to the next part here, we got John here with a question. When did young Rip meet Lloyd? I guess the Lloyd of your time. Did you
I think that like in the show, are we talking about in the show, or are we talking about like actually in person?
Or in person as well, whatever works for you.
I know that for the show, I think that the very first time that I probably went into the bunkhouse, I'm guessing, to do like the
Right.
actual work. I probably met Lloyd. But the actual time that I met Lloyd in person, or I was in the hotel, I was swimming laps in the pool because it was in the middle of my water polo season. So I was trying to stay in shape. And I actually met his son who plays young Lloyd. And so when we met young Lloyd, he also introduced us on set to Lloyd. And so we had a great talk, and he kept giving me advice and about how there's so many people who come up to him and talk about Yellowstone. So, I mean, everyone on set really is a nice like family there. So it's always great to meet people. And I got to meet Lloyd there, and it's just, young Lloyd as well. They were all great people to meet. So it's always
Which
just
is
a nice little family there.
that's Forrest, right? That's Forrest's son, right?
Yeah, that is
So
his
so
son. So we
Forrest,
got to
young
meet his
Lloyd
son.
is actually Forey J. Smith's son in the show as well. So that's a fun
Yep.
thing for people who didn't know that. Another one from the chat. People said, of course, after your episode when you're found by John Dutton and you're kind of almost wild, you have blood, you're dirty, but you're still a young kid. Do they talk to you about the mannerisms? Because someone's talking about the fact that you're eating a sandwich and swinging your legs and, just like a young kid would. But you've also just gone through a horrific incident too. So what was the mindset they wanted you to get in?
Oh yeah, this was actually very interesting. I remember we were filming, and we were filming the part in the house where my brother's dead and my mother is being killed by my father. And I remember specifically like me before I was going into that scene specifically, I was trying to really focus my emotions on being sad. I'm like okay, my brother is literally dead in front of me, and my mother is dying, and so is my dad. And so I was very emotional. I was taking it super duper emotional, and I was on the point where I almost wanted to cry in that scene. But then Taylor was giving me a different approach to it. He said, hey, this is where you really like see your brother, and this is where it's not as much emotions there, it's more anger. So I was like, okay, I see Rip really is kind of a badass at that point. But then again, he is still a kid. So I remember that Taylor, for specific direction that he gave me, he said, hey, use this for anger. So that's how I took it. And then that's what created that scene. And I think it definitely turned out to be very, very good.
I think so as well, and it's definitely one of the strongest ones. And also the fact that with Taylor Sheridan and everything that goes on, the hardcore nature of everything that comes about. It's always interesting how he molds his characters, and they show the backstory and the trials and tribulations they had to go through to become who they are now. And as we've seen, Rip is a part of the family. He's part of the, his blood is in the dirt that is the Dutton land. So it's interesting to see how that all works together too. And it must be interesting to you as well to see how much Rip is welcomed into the Dutton family, and how much he is, without you being in episodes, become more in the family too. Because as an actor, that means, hey, maybe I'll get a chance to be, in season 4 and some other fun stuff too. So, that's up in the air, but I'm sure you can't talk about that yet, hopefully, but we'll see what happens, right?
That's right. We'll see what happens.
All right. And then, now, here's another question for you. Have you ever ridden a horse? Are we going to see you riding any horses by chance? Water polo makes strong legs. Is that going to help out? Strong calves? Is that going to work out for horse work too?
I mean, water polo ain't nothing like the horse polo. So, I mean, I definitely know that. My mom is from Nebraska actually, so I go out to Nebraska every now and then, and I actually do. I kind of ride horses to the point where it's like, everyone's in a pack and everyone will ride their own horse. But I think that if they require me to ride a horse, oh boy, would I get some lessons, and I would be happy to do it. That would be awesome. I mean, they want to put me on a horse, I'm down to be on a horse. So
fantastic. Well, we'll look forward to that. And many more things, of course, you can't talk about season 4, but we'll hopefully see a Facebook post or something from you in Montana or Missoula, I believe, is the place they're shooting right now too. So hopefully we'll get a chance to see you out there. All right. Well, if you have any more chat questions, feel free to throw them in. We'll try to pepper them on as we go through this episode. But I feel like it's time for us to get into this episode, season 3, episode 9, Meaner Than Evil. So if you have not watched this episode, if you have not been on the East Coast, you're somewhere in the middle or the West Coast, you might want to check out, maybe come back a little bit later on. Go enjoy the show for the first time. Don't let us spoil it for you. But for everybody else, it's time for us to begin. So, Yellowstone. All right. So after Yellowstone, let us begin with all of the angst and everything we knew was coming, was going to come. The first and foremost has to be Colby and Teeter. I mean, that's how we left. We didn't know what was happening. As I mentioned before, I have a friend who actually was stepped on by a horse once, and it was horrific. So the idea of multiple horses and multiple stompings was not like a happy thought in my head whatsoever. So anyone want to start off with this one? How about Britt? Britt, you have anything?
Yes, I was just happy that they survived it, but really surprised in a way because of what you just mentioned, just the severity of an injury that you would incur from being, stomped on by multiple horses, two horses. But I was happy to see them alive, and I think that it definitely set up some really great stuff.
I think so too. I was very surprised by that. Kyle, what did you think about when you saw that episode? Luckily you didn't have to deal with that in your own actor world, but when it came down to it, it was a pretty hardcore thing to happen.
I mean, I know that I wouldn't want to get stomped on by two horses. So when I saw that in the other episode, I was like, they're dead. Like, I did not see them emerge from the water at all. So I'm very happy as well that they are alive. And I think that it's definitely whatever. It's going to be an interesting little part right there.
I think so too, and that's going to be one of those things that we're really gonna get into to see. There's so many things that happen because blood was spilt, but also affection was also let out the door a little bit too. Carissa, any thoughts?
First of all, if she had gotten hit just a little bit further down her face there by the temple, that she would have been dead. And I was, like everybody else, surprised that they both survived, because Yellowstone in the past has been so brutal with people, and then they're just here 1 minute and gone the next. But I also really enjoyed the way that they kissed, and Teeter teased him about how, it wasn't so bad after all, was it? And that it took something that dramatic to finally get him to make a move. Agreed.
And that was it's one of those things where you're watching the show, and I think Teeter is a breakout character. I almost feel like maybe Taylor could have been, writing something for her to die earlier on, but throughout the whole season, like, everyone loves Teeter. You give us more Teeter, and I feel that's one of the ways he's like, all right, rewrite. Like, we're gonna more Teeter. She's gonna be fine, and since she's down with Colby, maybe that's why he's gonna be okay as well. So I kind of felt like it was gonna be that they were still gonna be okay. I didn't know how bad they were gonna be, the severity. A lot of blood. The fact that the vet fixes everything, it still makes me smile and kind of laugh to myself. Like, people are bleeding. They've been stepped on by horses. There's gashes that could have brain. You can almost see her brain, and they're like, oh, we should call the vet in. That's fine. She deals with the same stuff. That's fine. So.
Oh, wasn't that brutal when she was getting her head stapled?
Ooh,
and she was shaking. I mean, that was really good acting. She was shaking, and it looked so realistic to me. Sorry to interrupt, Britt.
No, you're fine. I was just saying, yeah, it was brutal. And is this the same vet who performed the emergency operation on John last season when his stomach ulcer ruptured? Because she's a godsend.
Yeah. Well, and she's got all this extra stuff to put on her resume now, I feel, is what's happening, right? She gets a chance to kind of show her skills, and it's almost like she's her own little army medic as well as a vet as well. So, and the fact that she's on call, got there in the nick of time, like, that was great. So that's one of those things that was really interesting to me. And of course, it started the dogs of war, as it were. But before we get into that, I like to follow the episode kind of how we cut along too. So before we get into Wade Morrow and all the things that encapsulates, let's actually jump over to Walker. And of course, last episode, we ended with Rip having a very, very, very angry beer. So, I mean, that's the way we ended there. So, what was your first thought? Like, when last episode, before we actually watched this one, did anyone have any thoughts about how Rip would handle it and any different surprises? Kyle, any thoughts?
I mean, just from experience, I thought Rip would have actually killed the guy right then and there in the bar, but luckily he did not, and so Walker's been given a second chance. So we'll have to see.
For sure. Carissa, any thoughts?
From last week, I had no idea what was going to happen, but the first scene that he was in singing a song about death, as soon as he said it's about death, I thought, oh no, is that a premonition? But it wasn't. So yay, I like Walker. I have a soft spot for Walker. I can't help it.
Ryan Bingham is a fantastic actor, and more importantly, the music he puts out on a regular basis in the show and outside of the show is great too. So if you're not a fan, you should be. Britt, any thoughts?
Yes, I'm very happy that Walker is still alive because to me, he was one of the breakout characters earlier in the series. So it was nice to see him come back, and we'll see what happens. I'm not so sold on everything that he's completely back into the ranch and his brand, but we'll see. I have some theories, but I am very happy that he's back. And it was very interesting to see Rip and handle it because I thought he was going to be more mad at Kayce, feeling like this was a betrayal, and they seemed to work through it in a better way than I anticipated.
I agree, and then the whole Lloyd, I'm gonna let Rip do all the stuff. Lloyd just kind of walked away as well, so I didn't know what was gonna happen or the way it was gonna work. But it was definitely one of those things that, like, I guess he's back in the fray, and this is part of the life. And then let's not forget the look that Laramie gave Walker as well. So I don't know if that is a heartbreak waiting to happen, or if that's something they're gonna like. Well, Teeter and Kobe worked. Let's see if we can get two other opposite people to work out too. Which in my case makes me think that Lloyd's gonna shoot him, but that's just my mindset when it comes to that case. He's already protected Papa when it comes to it. So I am happy. I'm very happy to have Walker back. Although they did leave his guitar and all his stuff back at the bar, so I was kind of mad about that. So I hope they find the guitar and bring it back somehow. So that was actually my mindset when I first saw them take him. They beat him up. They threw him in the back of the truck. My mind's like, what about the guitar? You're just gonna leave it? I mean, all right, that's fine. Like if you kill him, I get it. But if not, he needs his guitar. It's kind of like his thing. So, but yeah, it's definitely one of those things that I was thinking about for sure. So we'll definitely have to get more into that, and we'll see how Walker moves forward. I don't know if Walker and or Ryan Bingham is in Montana right now, so we don't know how the finale is going to end. And I don't even want to ask the question. I guess we'll just have to watch it, I think, is the best way to move forward on this. The next thing on my list is Monica, Kayce, of course, talking together. And of course, leading into Tate taking over the ranch, not going to school. You know, his learning needs to be on the ranch. He needs to understand how to do all that stuff. And I thought that was very interesting that they even now kind of are leaning into that as well. Did you guys catch that? Any thoughts
yes.
from? Go ahead, Brett. You have any thoughts?
I just was very excited about it. Anytime homeschooling tends to be brought up on television, it's a big no. It's a big, oh no, that's terrible. And to hear Monica kind of hear Kayce out, and I thought he gave a great argument, and her to say, yeah, and she got on board to it. I just absolutely loved it. So I'm very excited that Tate is going to be homeschooled, and more Tate on the ranch, I think, is always a good thing.
Well, more importantly, they're still very, very positive about it, even though all the wolves are at the gates on their property too. So they're still planning it, and I don't know what's gonna happen. But you know, John Dutton will push it through with gumption alone, I guess, is the main thought behind that. So
This seems like really bad timing.
yeah, well, I almost feel like the last 3 years, if we were going by a time basis, like John Dutton's just very angry. The last 3 years have been crap. There's been a huge amount of bad things the last 3 years. I'm hoping this hasn't been the way of his life for the last 30, but it could be. I don't know how that all works out, but I think just the last 3 years have been a little more vexing, and as he said, it's heavy on his heart. You know, he's still young inside, but his heart is taking a beating from all the things that want to take away his legacy and his future and his family. So there's a lot of dreams he has wrapped up in all of that together. So I'm very interested to see what happens when that comes about too. So if we move along with the same Tate kind of thing too, I did enjoy the Choco cereal. Grandpa wanted to have some cereal with his grandson. I thought that was cute. Like I thought that was going to be fun too. So I very much enjoy the idea of Grandpa and the grandson getting together and having their cereal and kind of just enjoying themselves. And that's one of those things that like as I said before, this relationship is just amazing. So I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with Frank. Like I said before, I want Kevin Costner as my grandfather. I feel like I'd learn a lot of wisdom. I feel like we'd go shoot some stuff and have a catch and all that good stuff too. So but that's was another little small part of that too. So but before we get into the Wade Morrow stuff, anyone want to wade into, I guess, any more of the relationship between Monica, Kayce? I think we've wrapped up everything correctly before to get into the finale, right? They've kind of come to an understanding about who they are and what they're doing. Of course, Monica setting that trap, and Kayce doing his job, but getting love from the ranchers. So if anyone has any last thoughts, if not, we'll move on to Rourke and Wade, which is very interesting that it all came about in one episode. I mean, was anyone else surprised by the fact that we learned that Rourke and Wade Morrow are part of the same, dastardly duo or whatever? He works for Rourke and everything. It happened so quickly. I mean, was anyone kind of surprised by that?
I wasn't surprised. I mean, somebody hired Wade to do these things. He wasn't just doing them of his own accord. I mean, he's, even what John said, he's intelligent. He's not stupid. So it seems strange that he would just all of a sudden pick a fight with the Duttons without having a really good reason to do it. And if there's nothing people want more, it's money. So he's being paid, well paid. And it's too late now. Now he doesn't even have anybody to leave it to. Oh well.
I know that little trap happened hard. They were inviting more muscle to come in as well, which I thought, well, okay, that's gonna make this a big thing. And kind of the same way that we lost the brothers with Neil McDonough last year. Like it just kind of went a lot quicker than I thought it would. It always kind of shows us who's the bigger evil in the world by how Taylor Sheridan kind of puts the spotlight on, and who gets a longer, I guess, arc a little bit too. But I guess the real question is, we want to ask all of you. I mean, did anyone think that it was the scar, the thing he needed to get back? That John Dutton said, "I need to get that back." So Kyle, you're saying no. Carissa, you're saying yes. Britt,
yes.
Did you know?
I did not know until someone, I believe last week in the show, mentioned that in the comment section. So kudos to that person. Until then, I had not even thought about that being what he had taken away from John.
I was surprised too, because it was he took the one thing you're not supposed to take away from me, and so that was very, very surprising. And then how that all kind of rolled back around into the whole, Walker thing as well. It was very interesting that worked out. But yeah, having to be meaner than evil, I guess that's where it all comes about too. And I'm trying to think now, do all the episodes have the exact term of the title episode is somewhere in the, is it, maybe I've been missing. I know All for Nothing was one. Is it always in the episode? Maybe I've just been missing.
They are, yep. Because I capture quotes for all of the episodes, and I managed to capture every quote that has the title in it, because I figure people are going to be searching for those.
Oh yeah, I was very, very surprised when you hear it too, meaner than evil. So I was thrown by it. But yeah, when they first came back and this meeting here, you just knew that there was going to be some reckoning to come about between. When all these three guys together, and I actually thought that there might have been a trap coming or something was going to happen to Rip, because I'm getting so close to the finale now. I'm wondering, I'm on the edge of my seat, wondering what's going to happen? Are they going to set up something? Is something going to happen? But apparently it's going to happen fast, and it's going to be hardcore. So, any other thoughts, I guess, on the Wade Morrow wrap up? Whether it's his companion dying or the brutal way that Wade, I guess, met his end.
It was brutal. It was a reminder to me that Rip, though we love him, yes, that he has he's capable of this brutality. And I don't think we'd been reminded of that really since season 1, back with the coroner and that whole event to protect Kayce. But it's something interesting to take into the finale, as I'm very fearful for Rip's life. So I'm curious that they kind of left that taste as we head into the finale. Very curious setup.
That's right. Last episode, I believe you said that you believe Rip is going to have an RIP moment at the end of this finale. So, Carissa, having covered and also talking to everyone too, do you feel we're going to lose someone as big as Rip at the finale? I mean, have you thought about it? And hopefully not. Hopefully, Kyle, I'm sure you're on your edge of your seat thinking, oh no, I hope not. I hope everything's going to be fine. So,
my mom asked me about that today. She said, is Rip going to die? He's going to die, isn't he? And I said, I can't imagine that Taylor is ready to piss off the fans to that extent. I dare say that Rip is the most popular character on the show. People love him to the ends of the earth and back. And if he goes, oh my gosh, there better be flashbacks of Rama about the rest of his life so that he's never gone from the show.
I mean, how do you feel, Kyle? I mean, this is future work. It's almost like you're looking at your field and you're hoping that those clouds are rain. Like it's still gonna rain, right? We're still gonna get some rain.
I just know right now for Rip and Beth, it's just a little bit too happy right now. So something's around the corner. I mean, I'm feeling like something's about to happen, a major bomb, something crazy. Because right now it's just too happy for them. We'll see what happens though. I have no clue. I mean, it's all up in the air, but I mean, who knows? Who knows?
No, and that's one of those things that I'm very interested to see what happens, and I do feel there is going to be an uproar if something happens to Rip, because there's too many things that are intertwined with him, and I don't see anyone else who can become the new Rip either if it needs to happen, and I feel like that's going to be one of those things we're definitely going to see for sure. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with that. So any last thoughts on let's see, Rip here going away. We had John was waiting in the wings here as well, just waiting. I thought that was interesting too. John and Kayce were just waiting to see what was going to happen. Like they didn't have the they weren't part of it. They had deniability, I guess is the best way to say it, right? That's what they was kind of about too. So did anyone find that interesting?
Yes. You know what I find very interesting is that even though Kayce he gave that nice little speech about how horrible it is, and he's killed more men than anybody else, but he's never been a flat out murderer. Well, yeah, you kind of are, because every time you stand back and allow other people to murder on your behalf, you too are a murderer. Just ask Charles Manson. That's how it works. The mastermind, the person who gives the green light to get it done, has just as much culpability as anybody else. So they kind of stand back and allow everybody else to do the real dirty work, but it's all on their behalf anyway.
Well, and let's be fair.
It looks like she has a different opinion.
Go for it, Beth.
I was going to say, I haven't seen anything so far in terms of the victims being on the level of innocence of the Manson victims. I felt like Wade Morrow had every intention to kill Colby and Teeter. Therefore, he is an attempted murderer. Therefore, he was a threat. And Kayce, his value in terms of being in charge of the ranch, taking over for John, he couldn't get himself his hands dirty in that. But I don't think that he signed off on anything where I've said, wow, is a complete innocent person like Manson, So I think in terms of Kayce, I think I had even mentioned that sometimes these bad people, what are you going to, he has the ultimate thing to get rid of them as a threat. He has got to put them down. And I don't think he's doing it in a vicious or horrible way, but it's just his way to defend his family.
Right. And, I was very interested to see that Kayce was taking that on. Like to me, he always felt like a soldier needs to be out with his men kind of person when it comes out to as well. And it took John to kind of tell him to sit down, settle back, just kind of let it happen too. Another thing I was thinking about too with the whole Colby and Teeter thing is, did you notice how dark it had gotten when we actually came back to them? Because it was kind of light out still when they were out in the water and they got trampled. So there must have been a good chunk of time in between where they were just out. Like, I mean, they could have drowned or they were just in pain and it took, or maybe they were hiding somewhere. I don't know, but there was,
you know what?
We went to darkness for a while.
Jen Landon, whenever I interviewed her, she kind of spoiled something that nobody really picked up on, but she said, we really did drift down the water. And I thought, we didn't see you drift down the water. We did not see that before tonight's episode. So they were drifting for who knows how long, but thank God they were drifting kind of in the same path because they were right there with each other.
Yeah, I didn't even know if it was a river. I thought it was just like a little pond or something. To me, it didn't seem like a river.
That's what they call rivers out there.
Okay,
Derek.
I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna
Have you
go
ever
along
seen the
with
Snake
it.
River?
Well, and I'm not gonna get into it because there's too many Taylor Sheridan times when he just expects us to get it. Like, figure it out, stupid. There's a lot of stuff he does where it's just like, figure it out. Look, we're here now, so make the connection. I'm not going backwards. Like, he's not going to do any of that stuff. He just kind of like connect. And so that's one of those things that I was like, kind of like, all right, well, we'll take it in. But now I was just saying, like, I think about it. So it's good to hear that. So I guess they did float a little bit, which I'm surprised, he didn't show like blood in the water as them floating down the water. It feels like a Taylor Sheridan kind of thing you'd want to show, even though Stephen K directed this one, I believe. So I don't know. It's just something interesting to think about too. So let's move along though. Wade is gone. He's no longer an issue, but we will have to see what happens. The reverberations into Rourke, and into the underhanded side of getting that land. But from there, we are actually going to move over to the other side of this, which is the corporate side, which is Beth losing her position. Now, this is something that was kind of a surprise how quick it happened. I thought she was going to have a meeting with her new boss. So this was her new boss. She said, "Oh, can he?" I thought it was the original boss she was friends with. He was going to come down and maybe he would let her go. But for this to happen this quickly, was anyone that surprised that this buyout and this changeover happened this fast?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially because Bob said he was flying in, or
Right.
Bob didn't tell her himself. It was his assistant said, Bob's flying in. You got to meet with him. And, Beth was kind of flippant about it. And then to walk in the next day and discover Will is sitting in her chair is kind of a different story, isn't it?
And that's the scene. I mean, that's the image right there. The power of, I own your house. This is my house. Now everything you built is mine. And the fact that they didn't miss a beat about the fact that all the land that Beth had bought is now hers. Like,
Yep.
that was, I was just blown away. Like, it was a chess move times 3, but I don't even know if it was a chess move so much as it was just a steamroller of money. I mean, that's kind of what it felt like.
And Beth screwed up. She overplayed her hand. She thought for sure there was no way she could lose, and she had so much to lose.
Right.
She had been buying land forever. So everything around the Yellowstone is now gone. It's all gone.
It's crazy. Kyle, one thing I do want to ask you was, you worked with a young Beth who is it in Kylie? Is her name?
Yeah, Kylie.
So Kylie, now did you ever talk to her about how she thought of her character? Because Beth is a very, very complicated, and it even came back in the flashbacks how assertive she was. I mean, she went after you essentially when she was in those episodes. She kind of knew what she wanted. She wanted to kind of, get what she wants and do whatever she wanted to do and go from there. So I was very interested to see that. Did Kylie ever kind of talk to you about it, or did she ever kind of go over anything about how she was going to do it, or you just kind of met on the scene?
No, well, basically, Kylie, she's an amazing actress, and it's Kelly, right, who plays Beth, right? It's Kelly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And when she and Kelly got to really know each other, and they truly discussed the character. and they like truly like tried to understand one another. And so that's why young Beth is almost exactly like Beth, because they literally talked about it, and they've had those conversations. And I know that if me and Cole were to have those conversations, we just figured out that, hey, we're badass. We know that we're badasses, but it's a lot more complicated when it comes to Beth. So Beth has a lot of stuff going on her plate. So they had that whole discussion, and that's why Kylie is such an amazing actress, and she truly got to understand who Beth was.
And that's something that we've seen. You know, she is a viper, and she's a giant in her own right, but she's going against gods almost. So I guess the question is, you know, how do we see this wrapping up? Is this a loophole? Is this something where, they have to pull it out? I mean, the Yellowstone Ranch can't be sold off. So I mean, we all assume. I mean, Britt, Carissa, we kind of assume there's a loophole coming, right?
Well, you know what? I think it's interesting that Willow wants so badly to work with Beth, because if Beth would just get out of her own way for a minute, she could infiltrate the new company and persuade them not to take the ranch and not to take that 50,000 acres. But at this point, does it even matter? Forey J. Smith, whenever I talked to him, noted that it's really too late to save any of the West. And when everything else around the ranch is gone, how can they continue on the same path? I mean, how if there's nobody else to protect, where are all the other ranches going to go? I don't understand the full culpability of what it means to have all that land gone.
Right. And as I said, $500 million is definitely something to question. That's something that could buy a lot of land other places too.
Yep.
But I don't know how that would all work out. I kind of assume in my mind it might be an Indian reservation thing. Like they might give like a square mile right in the middle of where this airport's supposed to go, and now they can't, they can't build there or something. So I think there's a loophole coming. But I don't know. I was kind of hoping that Beth was going to be the answer. I was kind of hoping that she was going to figure it out. And she bleeds for John Dutton on a regular basis, and so I was kind of hoping that might have been the way that worked out.
She might still have something planned with Angela that we haven't been privy to. There has to be more at play between Angela and Beth, and I assume it's going to happen in the finale in one of those 3-minute scenes that just takes everybody by storm.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting to see how that all works out. So that's definitely the finale that we're gonna get. There's gonna be violence on the Rourke side, which I'm so kind of like questioning why Rourke and Willa are so separated now. They've almost made him to two separate villains a little bit too. And Rourke has taken the I guess the action side, and Willa has taken the brains over brawn side. And so I'm kind of questioning how that's going to work out too. But they made a definite snake with a couple heads, so we'll see how that works out. Moving on, I do want to talk about Jamie meeting his father. I mean, there's so many things that happened in this episode. Will Patton, who you remember from Armageddon, just an amazing actor, very, very cool. But the fact that now Jamie has met his father and gets a chance to, I guess, connect in some way. Kyle, any thoughts?
I mean, I actually don't know what to think of this, because now that he actually met his father, and I think the way that John Dutton explained it to him was like that his father was a complete screw up. But when we actually like heard from his father was saying that his mom was doing it was all because of the drugs that they were taking, and like that he took and he lost the thing that he loved, but he did it for a reason. Didn't he say? He said it's because she was selling her body for drugs. So, I mean, I think that there's a lot more to his father than what John was explaining. And so I think that's what Jamie really wants to like figure out. And so there's a lot to really think about right here.
Yeah, I think so too. Chris, any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Kyle. I really didn't expect to like whoever Jamie's father would be. And I'm not saying that he was a kind man, but he had good thoughts. You know, his first instinct was to tell his son to run. I've killed everything that's ever loved me and that I've ever loved. So you're exactly where you need to be. John Dutton should have never told you.
Right.
I didn't expect that. He doesn't seem like he's somebody who's going to go after whatever Jamie has access to with the Duttons. It's more that he's only going to be a part of Jamie's life because Jamie really emotionally reached out to him. That was unexpected.
I was very questioning about the whole idea that Jamie says, I need to know you to figure out who I am, because that kind of throws a wet blanket on everything that John Dutton said to him, how I raised you, you're my son, and that, all those things there too. So, any thoughts, Britt?
Yeah, I was quite disarmed by the scene, and it kind of, I don't know how many Bates Motel fans are out there, but there was a kind of a similar situation that happened there. I never expected something like that to happen on Yellowstone, but it was very interesting because the man owned up to what happened and explained the motives behind it. And I think Jamie's at this point in his life where obviously he's very curious about his biological history, but also something that Yellowstone has yet to touch on throughout season 3 is that at the end of season 2, Jamie's ex-girlfriend came forward and said that she was expecting his baby. So we know that Jamie is looking at being a father to be. So having that bond with his biological father or learning who his child's grandfather is very important. So I think Yellowstone went about it in a very interesting way. Obviously they want to go for the most dramatic edge, and the most dramatic thing would be that Jamie meets his dad and he's not the total monster that John Dutton made him out to be, which kind of brings up some questions about how John Dutton relays his narrative.
Well, and that is really the case too. I mean, but let's be fair. Even if it is Jamie's kid, Tate is going to be the favorite grandson, even if Jamie has a son of his own. There's no doubt. In the same way that Kayce was blood, and he was always going to be the mindset. Either Lee or Kayce was going to be the mindset to take over the legacy, and Jamie was not really ever in that in that realm either. So that's kind of a underlying thing that I kind of feel. It goes to the thing that you can you love your children, but you don't have to always like them, I guess, sometimes too. So maybe that's that old joke. I don't know. So we'll see what happens there, but it is something very interesting because he did leave and he went back to him to say, I need to know, I need to find out. So I am definitely indebted in that too. So we'll see what happens, and more importantly, a John Dutton with Jamie's dad. I mean, Kevin Costner and a Will Patton thing would be amazing. Someone mentioned here they were both together in No Way Out in 1987 too. So I think both those guys would be amazing in some kind of role or something together too. So I'm very excited. And yes, we know the water. It was a creek. The creeks connect to the rivers, and that's how those things work out. So I'm gonna go. I'm making sure that people on the chat are happy as well too. So I understand that. So they didn't show it to us, but I imagine they floated for a little bit for sure. Okay, so I think those are all the main points that I really wanted to get off. This episode had a lot of endings, but also some new beginnings too, which is interesting because this is going to be something that is going to kind of throw us into the next season too. Case in point, one of the big ones, which I was kind of thrown a little bit by, was the fact that the barrel racers, Mia was saying maybe it's time to leave, but Laramie all of a sudden gets some googly eyes for Walker, who Hassie Harrison, if you don't know, I actually did an interview with her recently too. She's got a movie. She's on Tacoma FD, but she plays Laramie, and she is such an amazingly nice person. She put away the whole thing. Let me see here. Okay, audio was probably cracking in there. Maybe it's back. All right. So the audio is better now, right? All right. So
Yep.
the fact that she said that that the whole Lloyd thing was kind of platonic. He was just an older, nice friend guy. There's no sexual connotation there, but he is a father figure. So we'll have to see, I guess, what comes about from that, because that's something that I'm definitely going to, I guess, question or look at one way or the other. And so we'll see what happens. But yeah. And then Walker what's going to happen with Walker now. Is Walker in for the count? Is he, we saw everyone get the brands at the last one. Teeter getting the brand, by the way, on the chest. Of all places, did anyone else question that? Anyone else have thoughts on that?
Yes. Brutal. Brutal.
Yeah.
I'm glad they cut off.
I did not expect
Agreed.
that. Yeah, I did not expect
that. They're all
that.
branded now. Did you notice that? They all got the brand. So that means somebody has to die, because you can't have a nice, big, happy, branded family without somebody, something really shaking up the family.
Right. No, and it could happen. I mean, that's one of those things that you add all those extra people to the mix, which I guess as an actor you're probably happy about, because now you get a brand, so you're part of the family even closer now, I guess, when it comes to them. But I'm still thinking that there is going to be some issues to be had. But especially Colby, who didn't want to be part of that. He didn't want the brand before. He mentioned that. And now they're all just on board, like, blood in, blood out. So I was very interested to see that. And I still don't understand why it was a chest. Why couldn't they do like a back one for her? Does it have to be the chest? It's so much different for a guy than for a woman, I think. Am I wrong?
I think everybody gets it over their heart.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about it that
Yeah,
way.
it's not in the middle. It's not on the left. Everybody gets it right in that same spot. So I assume it's some kind of a symbolic symbolism beyond the brand itself.
Wow.
All right. And just as a mention to all the people out there, don't brand yourself with Yellowstone. Get a tattoo if you're going to do something. You don't need to burn your skin to be part of the show. Just letting you know, my own 2 cents on this one right now. I'll give you that too. And then I think the other thing that kind of threw me off too was the whole Walker being the one who had to rip the skin off thing too. That was so bloody and crazy. Like, I just did not expect it to be that much. I mean, as soon as I knew it was the brand and he said, bring it back to me, I thought it was going to be Rip. But the most jovial man there, Walker, comes up, Mister, I'm sorry to do this to you, but what you going to do? Like, I was just like, how could you be that, like, folksy about it and still rip the man's skin off? I don't get
His life is on the line.
That's true.
Crazy. All right, so any other thoughts on any of these things before we move on? Have I missed any other junction or points on this episode that you all would like to touch on?
Nope.
Okay.
I think I'm good.
I think I'm good too. I think we covered everything pretty well. I will say that I'm very happy they made that last message for Wilford Brimley as well. That was a nice touch. An amazing actor, and if you watched anything that man put out, you know he was a 100% cowboy in his own right. So I was very happy to see that message. And it's interesting because I don't know if there was a connection between Wilford Brimley and Taylor, or Wilford Brimley and Kevin Costner. I assume Dabney Coleman came on because of Kevin Costner when he paid his father. But I don't know. So it's kind of interesting how some of these old great actors have been coming in. And so I didn't know how that would work out, because I know a lot of the Cowboys are, worked with Kevin in the past. So be that as it may. All right, so I want to thank everyone on the chat. This has been a great show, and I'm really, really excited for next week. We'll have to see how this last episode works out. It's going to be very interesting to see all the things we're going to wrap up and then what we're going to open up to. I don't know. And if it's going to be 40 minutes, it blows my mind how much stuff we have to get through in 40 minutes. It happens so quickly. And that's why I was thinking, it's got to be a 2-hour episode. There's so many things to happen here. But I guess it could happen in 40 minutes, but there's going to be those jumps, those drifting down the river jumps that we just don't see, but we understand later or we hear about. So I don't know. I mean, any predictions on the finale, Kyle?
I think for the finale, there's going to be, one major standoff. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking there's like one big thing that's about to happen that's about to blow everyone's mind. So it might just be that the badass dies. I don't know. Maybe Rip will die. Who knows? But I'm thinking it's one major bomb. I don't think that multiple people will die. I just think one person that will really blow people's minds.
I gotcha. All right, Carissa, any thoughts? You've talked to a lot of actors is there any leanings they kind of given you? You know, I talked to Hasky and a couple other people, and so I know who's there right now. So it kind of gives me a little inkling of what's to come. But that does not mean anything because they could be a flashback or a cutscene or something we don't know about. But what's your thoughts on how we're going out on this season?
You know, I watched the preview right before we started the chat because I was wondering what the heck, what's ahead, and they showed Beth and Willa. So there's some business. It's like they did the henchman and the action portion, I thought, this week, and then next week will be more of the business and behind the scenes kind of thing. But then there's also, Kyle, you mentioned the big bomb, and I thought, well, you know what? There is like dirt flying, and it looked like somebody might have actually planted a bomb. So who knows?
Okay.
I mean, Yellowstone, you just never know what's coming next.
That's interesting. I don't know, but you know what though? Corporate espionage on that level is going to be pretty insane, I have to say. And they work with some big guns. And I've been surprised that everything has been kind of local when it came to gun people. Like none of the LA people or the other people haven't like called out for some, international gunman or something to come down, or the Canadian mob to come down and rough some hosers up or something. So I don't know. I've been kind of waiting to see, the next level versus cowboys, actual killers and cowboys to get against each other. But I don't know. Britt, what's your feeling on how we're going to end out this season?
I think that with Rip, we're going to probably, maybe, see him learn the truth about the secret that Beth's been keeping about Jamie, because he has absolutely no idea. I talked to Cole Hauser. He told me that, Rip at this point has no idea that what he knows there's tension, but he doesn't exactly know what the cause of that is. We finally learned what the cause of that is this season. I'm wondering if that will happen, and then he confronts Beth, and then something terrible happens to Rip. And so instead of all this love they've had all this season, they go off on this kind of maybe sour note. I hope that doesn't happen, but that's just what I fear might. And I think the big thing that's going to happen is going to be Rourke and John Dutton finally facing off this season, coming head to head. And I talked to Josh Holloway. He had some very interesting things to say about that. So I'm very excited to see that on screen.
No, and he is an angry guy. So I know that there's some anger and there's money. There's billions in the mix. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I would like to see what comes about with all that too. And like I said, there's a lot of craziness to kind of wrap up still. In the death camp, I don't know who it might be. Jimmy is kind of one of the ones I've kind of put in there, especially since Mia said maybe it's time to check out. I mean, I thought she was in for the relationship, right? So if she's asking that, is that like an easy way to kind of get her, sort of slowly have her back out while Laramie comes in? And I don't know. So it kind of threw me a little bit that she said, she went through the fact that this guy who she'd only seen a couple times, who had broken everything, she was like on board for, but then all this other stuff starts to happen, and she decides that maybe it's time to, get on the next horse out of town. So I don't know. We'll have to see who it is. I think it's going to be a big name, and I just don't know how big it has to be for Taylor to be happy and for the fans to hate every second of it, which is going to be the problem because there's so many different connections. Every fan has, like you said, if it's a Rip thing, they love Rip, and it can't be Kayce and Monica. Because there's too much connection to the Native American side of things there. And Native American stuff has been so quiet. We can't do anything in that world. Probably we're not going to get into that till next season, probably even, unless there's some loophole to come about. So I don't know. There's a lot of things to happen. And if it's going to happen in 40 minutes, it's going to happen fast. So I look forward to next week, and hopefully we'll get a chance to, I guess, really get into it and really understand how happy or mad Taylor Sheridan wants to make everybody. So we'll have to go from there. So once again, I want to thank everyone for being on. Kyle, thank you very much for being on. I enjoyed every moment having you here. Look forward to anything else you have coming up in the future. Hopefully more flashbacks for you, some more Rip moves. maybe they need to kind of have a rip montage to show how he gets into cowboy shape and angry shape and,
Oh yeah.
the shooting, the cowboy stuff, getting into a bunch of fights. And I would
Just
love
literally
to see.
put me in one fight. Put me in a fight. Just put me in a fight, please. I'll take it. I'd love to. I'd love to show off why I'm a psycho. I'd love to show off.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you're gonna try to match a Cole Hauser anger, you might burst a blood vessel. There's a certain
Hey,
there's
it's
a
worth
certain
it.
anger that comes with a Cole Hauser look of anger and fierceness that it just blows my mind. So, but if you get that chance, we look forward to it. It'll be so much fun. So, thank you very, very much.
All right. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here.
For sure. And then, Carissa, as always, thank you so much. I know that I think you have some interviews coming up too. Aren't you talking to the man who plays Jimmy tomorrow?
Yeah, Jefferson Wayne.
Jefferson, yes, right. So I guess everyone, if you go to some of the, I think you posted on some of the groups as well to make sure to give her some extra questions and thoughts too. Britt, of course, has been talking to everyone too. I mean, it's so much fun talking to all this cast or giving everyone a chance to kind of get those questions in, which I think we need because of those Taylor Sheridan gaps that we need to fill in with ourselves. And that's the best part about both of your writing is you ask those questions, you're fans, and you ask those questions that we need to know. So that's very, very important. So I want to thank you very much, Carissa, and Britt, thank you as much as well. And hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about Yellowstone again very, very soon. The season is going to end, but they are already in quarantine, and this is one of those shows that is going to be back quicker than we know. It's going to blow us away by how fast this show comes back versus other shows. So I'm very much looking forward to this. Before I close up, though, let's make sure everyone has a chance to let them know where to find them. So, Kyle, let everyone know where they can find you online, how to find you. I know you go to your Facebook, but what's the best way to talk to you? Is it Twitter, Instagram, Facebook?
Best way to talk to me about acting and everything would be Twitter and Facebook. Should just be all Kyle Red Silver. Or maybe my Facebook might also be Kyle Red Silverstein. But to get to know like kind of who I am and what I do and how much I'm a badass in real life, that would probably be my Instagram. My Instagram's also Kyle Red Silver. So that's more things that like I will control. That's just like who I am in general. So yeah, just feel free to hit me up on any of those. And I'm always love talking to people and especially about the show. So don't be afraid to ask me any questions.
Very cool. Moving on to Carissa. Carissa, can you tell us where everyone can find you and your great stories, as well as some of your upcoming stuff too?
TVfanatic.com is where you can read all of our articles. And you can follow me on Twitter at Carissa Pavlika. And we also have a very active Facebook page, also at TV Fanatic.
All right, very cool. And just to answer a chat question, Britt is not pessimistic. She just knows how Taylor Sheridan writes. There will be blood. Taylor Sheridan, that's just the way he is. Someone says you're a little pessimism in how you see it, but that's just the way it is. These shows and the way Taylor Sheridan does, he hits you right in all the different emotional spots. So he's an emotional ninja for sure. So he'll hit you on all kinds of sides. So Britt, let them know where they can find your stuff as well.
My bleak thoughts are at Cinema Blend. You can go there and hit the news tag for Yellowstone. All the Yellowstone coverage is there. Also Eclectic Pop, which is my blog. And for social media, Twitter, I'm at Britt L. Writer. And you can also find Eclectic Pop's handle there as well. So thank you so much again for having me on, Derek. I appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. I'm so happy to have all of you on. I love the show and I love the fans. They want to get involved. They have the questions. They have all the thoughts. And it's always interesting to be part of a community like this. So whether you're part of the show or someone who gets a chance to talk about it one way or the other, I think we're all winners in this too. I try to post my stuff online as well with on some of the groups too. So I'll try to post my Hassie interview up, which I did, which I kind of get into some of the Lloyd stuff in next season as well. But beyond that, you can find me on some Sinclair broadcast TV stations and ReviewNation.net. And then at ReviewNation is where you can find me on Instagram if you'd like to follow me there. Mostly it's just nerd stuff because that's who I am. So This is probably Cowboys can be nerds too. I hope is what I'm trying to lead with as well. So I want to thank everyone once again. It was such a great show, and I want to thank all of the people on the chat. We will have another one of these going into next episode, the final episode of the season, and it's gonna blow us all away. So once again, thank you all so much, and this has been After Yellowstone. So let's go on out.